Thank you. Hello and welcome to the CDSE Cybersecurity webinar. My name is Wes Sweetser, an instructor and course manager at CDSE and your host for today's webinar. Our producer today is Tina, an instructional designer with CDSE, and we're joined by Miss Renee Hartsfield, who's also a cybersecurity instructor and course manager here at CDSE. Ms. Hartsfield recently joined CDSE as an instructor and course manager in July 2014. Prior to joining CDSE, she was an information assurance compliance analyst with Army Cyber Command. Ms. Hartsfield served over 21 years in the U.S. Army in various capacities in the information systems and information systems security fields. She holds CISSP, CISA, GSLC, CISP, Security Plus, and ITIL version 3 certifications. Today's topic is Trusted Download. Before we get started, Tina will provide you the ground rules for today's webinar and some instruction on how to use the tools you will need to participate.
Thank you, Wes. So, the tour of the meeting room. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll find the notes box. It contains audio and other announcements. If you look at the gray banner at the top of your screen, you'll see an icon with 4 arrows. You can click to enlarge the presentation. However, when questions appear, reselect the icon to get out of full screen, allows you the ability to answer the questions. To the right of your screen, you'll see the question and answer box. You are invited to submit your questions throughout the presentation. The presenter will address questions at the end if time permits. Otherwise, they will be posted on the archive webinar page. Below the presentation, you'll find a file share box that contains today's slides. These can be downloaded and saved to your computer. The last thing, during this webinar, you will have a chat question. Enter response here. Don't forget to click the icon if you're in full screen, otherwise you will not be able to respond. That completes the tour of the meeting room. I'm going to send it back to Wes.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As you're probably aware, October is part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We here at the Center for the Development of Security Excellence take an active role in the Stop, Think, Connect campaign aimed at increasing the American public awareness of cybersecurity. Today, during our Lunch at Lunch webinar, you will be provided with an overview of Trusted Download. The implementation of the Trusted Download requirements will provide contractors with specific requirements on how to perform this task while maintaining an acceptable level of risk during the creation of lower than system level output. Let's pass it over to Renee to learn more about this topic.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and spending your lunch time with us. And as Wes has said, today during this webinar, we will be discussing trusted download requirements. These requirements do provide specific procedures, and while no procedure can mitigate 100% of the risk involved, these have been tested and approved for reducing the risk to an acceptable level. And DoD 5220.22-M, the National Industrial Security Program Operating Manual, also known as NISPOM, dated February 28, 2006, mandates that trusted download will be implemented on all newly accredited and or reaccredited information systems at processing levels 1, 2, or 3. Whereas these are required procedures for cleared defense contractors in accordance with applicable DSS ODAA directives, they are excellent procedures for everyone to utilize. So today, we will address the following topics. Define trusted downloading, describe the requirements for trusted downloading, identify DSS authorized file types and formats for trusted downloading, explain DSS authorized procedures for both Windows and Unix, and examine some common areas to check. So, what are we talking when we say trusted download? Trusted download refers to a procedure or set of procedures that permits information to be released below the accredited level of the information system. That is, taking unclassified information from a higher classified system and transferring to an unclassified system or media using a specific set of procedures. These procedures are in place to help reduce the risk of classified information being, whether knowingly or unknowingly, released to the public. Applicable DSS standard file types and file transfer procedures must be documented in the IS System Security Plan or the Master SSP, and a comprehensive review by a knowledgeable user must be performed as part of DSS approved procedure. A comprehensive sensitivity and classification review will be performed by a knowledgeable user. Now, a knowledgeable user is defined as an IS user, whether general or privileged, who is considered a subject matter expert with extensive knowledge of all appropriate security classification guides, and also deemed qualified to perform this review. The user would need to be trained by the ISSM or the ISSO in understanding the vulnerabilities associated with producing lower than system level output and file transfers. Information on media that is not in human readable form, such as embedded graphs, sounds, video, etc., things like that, will be examined for content using the appropriate software application or the appropriate review method. CSA-approved random or representative sampling techniques may be used to verify the proper marking of large volumes of output. Any alternative procedure must get the GCA or the data owner to accept the risk, the increased risk, to the classified information. If the ISSM is unable to implement the DSS authorized procedure, this must be first demonstrated and then documented as part of the system security plan. The SSP must include a description of how and why the contractor has deviated from the standard in a risk acceptance letter or RAL by the GCA. This risk acceptance letter must be on letterhead and updated when the plan is reaccredited every 3 years. What this means is that the alternate procedure have been tested in accordance with applicable regulations, keeps risk at an acceptable level, and have been approved as a viable solution and made part of the system security plan. Most applications, even those belonging to a professional software suite, formats, stores, displays, or codes information differently. These variances, however, do represent a security challenge, as each comes with its own set of vulnerabilities. Therefore, to perform a dependable and reliable trusted download, each format's vulnerability must be considered. No matter which file type or format that are used, the SSP must identify the specific procedures for reviewing and transferring those formats. There are requirements that are common to all general media and to electronic transfers. So it is important to note that when combining 2 or more lower-level classified documents, the combination cannot result in an increase of the overall classification of the document. For example, if the combining of 2 classified documents produce a classified document, then this combination would not be authorized. It is also important to note that regardless of the media type of your target, that is, whether the information is being downloaded, transferred to, must be new, referred to as factory fresh. And all downloads must be documented and logged. Often enough, information that was not intended to be downloaded ends up on the target media. This is why it is very important that only authorized methods are used. It is equally as important that you check the information that was downloaded to the target to ensure that the information intended for downloading is what was actually downloaded. Also, be sure to apply the appropriate classification label to your target media. And again, Risk must be accepted by the data owner or the GCA for any alternate procedure. Now, there are some procedures that are unique to a specific Windows operating system. The following slide will identify only a small sampling of these procedures that are unique to a Windows-based system. This list is not intended to be an all-inclusive list, and please keep in mind that some procedures will be dictated by your specific operating environment. However, also keep in mind that your procedures must be documented, approved, and part of the ISSP. I just cannot stress this enough. On the screen now is an example of some Unix commands. Again, this is not an all-inclusive list, as I said before. Many variables can determine this. These commands are for illustrative purposes only, and they may not be exact. The exact commands may vary depending on the version of Unix that you're running, how your machine is configured, the type of media that you're using, and so on and so forth. Utilities other than the applications should be used to view the transferred files on the new media. For example, Notepad is the preferred application for reviewing ASCII text files. In some cases, you may need to use some type of hex editing software to review. Be sure to compare the file names and sizes during your review. BMP and JPEG files are basic file formats for images. Images were automatically saved in BMP format using the Paint program in Windows XP, and JPEG in Microsoft Vista later. Most all digital cameras download photos in JPEG format. JPEG formats do not support animation, which is the main reason for using the GIF format. GIF format is great for websites. It supports transparency, which transparency allows you to place images over any colored background or photo. So just be sure to check thoroughly. PNG was created as a way to get around the GIF patent. Unlike GIF, PNG does not support animation. Wes, let's take a look at a chat question.
Okay, Renee. Everyone, please be sure to enter your responses in the chat box. What are some of the best methods to hide data? Stego, very good. Steganography. No, it's not stenography, but steganography. One picture over. Very good answers. I see some good responses. Let's pass it back over to Renee to get into more detail on these.
Thank you, Wes. Those were some good responses. Okay, many applications have areas where classified information can reside. This is a serious problem because the information may not be immediately viewable. The user may or may not be aware of these areas to check, so this information remains hidden. This slide lists just a few of the methods that are used to conceal information. Let's look at steganography. Steganography, or stego for short, is the science of hiding data. Unlike cryptography, stego's goal is not to make the information unreadable, but to make the information unseen. When a file is opened with this associated software program, the data is unseen. It's sort of like hiding something in plain view. There are several other ways data can be hidden by overlapping images in hidden cells on spreadsheets, using digital watermarks, sometimes in speaker notes, and the TCP/IP header. Those are just to name a few. In the following slides, we will examine how some of these various methods work. Let's look at PowerPoint. Within PowerPoint, it is not uncommon to have notes included on the notes page. However, if your view is not set to notes page, data that's included there will be overlooked. Although this is not your most technical or high-speed method, nevertheless, it gets the job done. Let's take a closer look at some of the other areas. Many applications have areas where classified information can reside. Again, not every method would be some type of I spy method like what we're used to seeing in the movies. After all, in some cases, we're talking about your secretary or perhaps your newly assigned office manager. Whatever the case may be, it happens. Now, at first glance, this picture looks perfectly okay. Now, would you really pay as close attention to one slide to notice that an image has been reduced so small and embedded into this picture? Maybe, maybe not. But as part of your trusted downloading procedure, these are things that need to be reviewed. It can be as simple as tabbing through the document to take a closer look at everywhere your tab stops. You just might be surprised. From invisible ink and micro dots to a secretly hidden message in the second letter of each word of a large body of text, classified information is being stored and subsequently downloaded every day. Let's look at this example of steganography. The document on the right appears to be the exact document that's on the left. Well, not exactly. The document on the right has been embedded with classified information using a steganography program, which, by the way, is readily available for free downloading all over the internet. And you don't have to be a genius to use these tools. The instructions are also readily available. Steganography works by replacing bits of data in a computer file, referred to as the carrier, with bits of different invisible information. This hidden information could be plain text, it can be ciphertext, malware, even images. Now, multi-layering of pictures is also not uncommon. Looking at the image on the right of the slide, it appears that there is only one picture. But if I tap through the slide, I will discover that there are actually 3 other pictures layered under the top one. Oftentimes, we insert one picture all to the side on using a different one. Sometimes the first picture is removed, and other times another one is just inserted at the top. Now, this can be purely accidental. It can be an oversight. But what if it's not? What if I wanted to put a picture on it of that new ship that is perhaps out in the Persian Gulf, or a technical drawing and specification for our latest fighter jet? This information in the hands of the wrong person can be very, very detrimental, whether it's intentional or not. Lastly, take a look at the document on the right. It contains a bit of flight information. However, in the document on the left, it's unseen. That's because the information was typed using the same font color as the background, thus making the text invisible. Again, the aforementioned examples are just a small sampling of how higher-level classified information gets onto an unclassified system. The majority of the methods that we've discussed today takes just a little bit of vigilance in practicing trusted download procedures to eliminate. And with the trusted download procedures as authorized in accordance with the NISPOM, we can greatly reduce associated risk with downloading. Well, to sum it all up, we know that information technology and systems are integral to operations at DoD. While these systems have brought great benefits to the battlefield and the office, they also represent a certain amount of vulnerability. DoD systems are subject to threats that have adverse effects on organizational operations and assets, individuals, and the nation. These threats can compromise the confidentiality, integrity, or availability or information processed, stored, or transmitted by DoD systems. In an effort to counter these threats, DoD has transformed its cybersecurity policy. Integrating information security into organizational infrastructure requires a carefully coordinated set of activities to ensure that the fundamental requirements for information security are addressed and risk to the organization from information systems is managed efficiently and cost-effectively. Well, thanks again, everyone, for your awesome participation. I'll return things back over to Wes now.
Thanks, Renee. Thank you so much. What a great topic. I think it's really wonderful that everyone can familiarize themselves with the trusted download. While that was an excellent overview, I will point out that if any of our listeners want to get a more in-depth look into any of CDSE's other cybersecurity education and training, please check out our website, the Center for Development of Security Excellence, Security Education, Training, and Professionalization for DoD and Industry at www.cdse.edu/toolkits/cybersecurity. Before I finish for today, I want everyone to be mindful that although October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, cybersecurity is important year-round. Also, be sure to join us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and visit our Cybersecurity Toolkit located at cdse.edu/toolkits/cybersecurity. Let's take a look at some of the questions that came in during the webinar. Renee, one participant asked, what is the best way to meet the intent of trusted download review requirements for Microsoft Office-produced deliverables transmitted via media? Those who don't have classified email capability have no other options to share the data electronically.
Okay, Wes, let me start off by saying, please do not get trusted download confused with the transfer of classified information because they are not the same. Trusted download does not deal with the transfer of classified information. Trusted download is taking unclassified information that resides on a classified system, i.e. SIPRNet, and transferring that information to an unclassified system. So please do not confuse the two. The transfer of classified information is handled in a totally different manner. So keep in mind whether or not you have classified email system doesn't really matter in reference to your trusted download procedures. I hope that answered your question.
Glad you could clear that up. Here's another question, Renee. Can executable programs be transferred?
Wow, that is another good question. No, executables cannot be transferred. However, what you can do is the source code can be reviewed as ASCII text. Then once you review it as ASCII text, it can then be transferred and you can recompile on the lower level system.
Okay, thanks, Renee. I heard you mention digital watermarking. What is digital watermarking?
Glad you asked, Wes. Let's see. It is when bits containing information, most often copyright information, are inserted into, say, audio files, digital images, sometimes video files. Whereas with your regular watermarks, they are intended to be somewhat visible. Digital watermarks are designed to be completely invisible or inaudible. The actual bits representing the watermark is scattered throughout the file. This is why it cannot be identified or manipulated.
Those are some really good questions from our participants today. And although your question may not have been answered during this webinar, we will answer those offline and be sure to post responses along with the transcript from today's webinar. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us today. As I mentioned at the start, our previous cybersecurity webinars, Cyber Insider Threat, and Risk Management Framework, have been archived and are available on our website. Also, please be sure to visit the CDSE Cybersecurity webpage and check out some of our exciting offerings, including e-learning, instructor-led courses, and shorts. Before we conclude today's presentation, we hope you'll take a moment to participate in our survey. Your feedback is very helpful to us and greatly appreciated. If you have ideas for future webinar topics, you're able to share these in the survey. When the webinar is closed, the survey link should appear on your screen so you have the opportunity to comment. For Renee Hartsfield, Tina, and all of CDSE, This is Wes Sweetser saying thanks for spending your lunch with us. Be safe, keep your systems secure, and have a great day.